Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about focus in short bursts. We've talked about why focus is hard and what's actually happening in your brain. Today we're going to talk about what to actually do about it. The answer might feel a little bit like cheating at first, but it's finally really just playing with your brain's actual rules. Hi, if you don't know me, I am Shannon Schroeder, the F-Bomb coach, and I help ADHD women build sustainable systems for their businesses. So let's dive in. When we talk about traditional productivity, it assumes that you can be consistent with your focus across long blocks of time, that you have steady linear progress, that discipline and willpower are the source of your fuel, and that everyone's brain works the same. Now, we know that's not true. The 8-hour workday was designed around factory work. Someone standing at a machine doing repetitive tasks, right? You're pressing buttons, you're creating things, you're pulling them off the line and putting them in boxes. Somehow we've applied that model to all things, creative, cognitive, entrepreneur work, and then wonder why we feel like failures by noontime. Today, we're throwing that model out and replacing it with something that actually works. In our last video, we talked about how ADHD brains are interest and urgency driven. A short burst creates urgency where none existed before. I'm going to work on this for 20 minutes is a completely different brain signal than I need to work on this all day. One of those your brain can actually respond to, and the other one just triggers overwhelm and avoidance because the idea of all day is horrifying to you. So let's talk about sprint style working. Yes, this is Pomodoro adjacent. If you've ever heard of Pomodoro method, if you've tried it and said, oh no, this doesn't work, let's talk a little bit about how to make it work for you. This does work for ADHD brains. I'm going to talk about how and why it works. The specificity of the task matters. Okay, it matters a lot. Work on my business is not a task. Write the first section of my sales page is a task. Vague tasks can't be started. That's a huge hurdle for your task initiation. Okay, you cannot do something if it is too vague. Your brain is going to stall out. You need to be specific. When we talk about breaks are not optional because that's where your brain recovers so the next sprint is actually useful. So you need to pick one task, not a category of things, one specific task, as small as possible. Set a timer for 15 to 25 minutes. Again, play with that time. It depends on your brain on any given day. Some days, 25-minute sprints might work beautifully. Other days, you might need 10-minute sprints. So adjust the time accordingly. Work only on that thing until the timer goes off. So that means you're not scrolling, you're not looking at other tabs, you're just doing that task. You take a real break for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you repeat that. And after every 2 to 4 sessions, you take a longer break. Raise your hand if you've ever spent more time dreading a task than the task actually took. That's a lot of people with ADHD. Our brains catastrophize the length and difficulty of tasks, especially when executive function is already taxed. If you're already struggling with your executive function, we will make all kinds of tasks way bigger than they actually are. Sprints shrink the task to something that your brain can agree to start. It's not about I'm doing this task and finishing it, it's I am working on this task for this amount of time. You're not telling your brain you have to finish it, you're just starting it. You're just working on it. The 5-minute rule works on the same principle. Just start for 5 minutes. Sprints are that principle built into a full working structure. We've talked about a 5-minute rule before, a 5-minute strategy just to get started. You set a timer and it jump starts the whole process. What happens often is that when you do like a 5-minute, just like I just need to get it started, a lot of times you'll be able to keep going. right? Because starting was the hard part. It's not the job itself, it's not the task, it's the just getting it started. And then once it is started, you can look at it and say, oh, well, it's not the whole thing anymore. This part of it's already done, and your brain starts to see progress, and it makes it easier to keep going. When you are working in sprints, your brain is saying, okay, I don't have to do the whole thing. It's not my whole day. It's not 4 hours. It's just this little window. And so you get that burst of urgency, like, ooh, let's see how much I can get done. So you're gamifying it for your brain, but you're also just accepting that it's not necessarily the whole thing. You need to have the right sprint length for you. The Pomodoro method says 25 minutes like it's gospel. It's not. It's a starting point. It's for neurotypical brains. 25 minutes is a great place for most neurotypical people. But your brain is different. Treat it that way. On a bad brain day, 10 minutes is still a win. On a great brain day, 45 minutes might be your sweet spot, because if you're hyper focusing and you know that you can plow through and get something done, let your sprint be 45 minutes. The point is that you choose intentionally instead of just hoping that your focus is going to show up. So just because you were able to do 30 minutes yesterday, don't assume that you're going to be able to do 30 minutes today and then get mad at yourself when halfway through that 30-minute block, you're screwing around doing everything but the task you're supposed to be doing. Pay attention to when your brain starts to wander during a sprint. That's your data. That's your real window. Over time, you'll get better at knowing what length you need before you start. But when you're first starting out and using this as a tool, you're going to have to experiment. You're going to have to play with what timing is right for you. And like I said, some days are going to be different than other days. Some days you're going to be able to do 30 minutes. Other days they're going to always be 10-minute sprints. The timing doesn't matter as long as you're being productive and it's effective for your brain. The break is not a reward. Let that sink in. It is not a reward. We treat it oftentimes like it's a reward. If I do this, then I get this. You need to accept that the break time is actually part of the work. Your gut reaction is, I don't have time for breaks. I have too much to do. Skipping the break means that your next sprint is not going to be as productive. It's not going to be as effective. And at some point, it's going to be downright trash because you're going to be wasting that time. Fake breaks don't let your brain reset. They just shift what it's processing. So that's not rest. That's just multitasking, or what we tell ourselves is multitasking, and you're giving yourself extra steps. What does a fake break look like? Checking your email, scrolling social media, switching to a different work task, anything that keeps your brain actively processing. What is a real break? Getting away from your computer, all screens. Physical movement if possible. Get up, walk, stretch, shake it out. Doing something sensory, water, snack, change of environment. Letting your mind wander without directing it. Do a little bit of daydreaming. Again, these breaks are not huge. They're only like 5 minutes. A longer break might be a little bit, might be 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And those are the ones that maybe you get up and go walk around a bit. But you need to walk away. You need to really let your brain let it go for a few minutes, because it will reset. You will have more energy and more focus when you come back to it. Sprints are a tool, not a contract. We treat them like a contract with ourselves. Sometimes they're going to fall apart. When they do fall apart, the goal is a quick recalibration, not a shame spiral. You don't beat yourself up because you set up a sprint for 30 minutes and you made it through 10 and everything went to shit. We don't want that. The most common reason a sprint fails before it starts is that the task isn't specific enough. You're sitting there not knowing what to actually do. That's the problem. That's not your focus being the problem. It's that you don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. If you hyper focus, that's fine. Fabulous, right? But note it. Your brain gave you data about what kind of work it actually loves. The only true failure here is using a derailed sprint as evidence that you're broken, that you can't do this, that it's never going to work for you. That none of that's true. You're figuring out your system. So if your brain won't start, make your sprints shorter. If you get interrupted, reset your timer. Don't try to pick up mid-sprint. Call it done and start a new one. If you miss your timer because you hyper-focused, that's okay. Use it as data. And if the task is still too vague, stop and clarify it. Don't just restart and restart and restart. We want you to be able to know what you're going to be working on, because that's going to lead to success. So today, you're not doing a whole new system, not a productivity overhaul. Do one sprint, just one sprint today, and see how it works. The goal is to just feel the difference between I have to work on this all day and I'm doing this one thing for 15 minutes. Your brain might surprise you, or it might be hard. Either way, you've got data, and data beats guessing every single time. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this resonated with you, hit like, subscribe so that more people can find this video and get the tools that they need to help with their executive function.